today we're going to do some quick intros, and then we'll get into some juicy topics about Web2 transitioning into Web3. Would you like to start?
Hi everyone, my name is Malena Ronstedt. You probably have just seen my presentation earlier before on the past, present, and future of DAOs. I'm the co-founder of the Data Union DAO, and yeah, very excited to talk about Web2 to Web3.
Hey guys, my name is Jeffrey Joe, formerly investor at a CFI DeFi fund, and now working on building up an incubator program and advising DAOs on the side.
I got it.
Oh yeah, you.
Doesn't work. Hello, everybody. Good to be here. My name is Maya Vujinovic. I've been in the space since 2010, former lawyer and a hacker, so I wear two hats. We bought a first bank that held Tether, investor in about 55 projects in the space, on a board of CoinDesk, and we are focused right now mostly on M&A and distressed assets in the space.
Hi, I'm Lou Kerner, and I'm a community guy. Started Crypto Mondays, biggest crypto meetup in the world. I'm also partnered a firm called Blockchain Co-Investors. We are a crypto fund of funds invested now in more than 40 of the leading crypto VCs around the world.
Yeah, none of them.
Hello. Okay, this one's working. Awesome, this one's working. Great. So yeah, we're going to start with talking about a little bit of Web 2 in transitioning to Web 3, and I'm going to, I don't remember everybody's name, Maya, Lou, Joseph, and Jeffrey, Malena. All right, let's start with Marlene. Let's start with Marlene. Marlene, what do you think is the greatest challenge transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3?
Yeah, so I think first of all, it's not so much about like transitioning the entire Web 2 to Web 3, because I think there are a lot of good use cases in Web 2 that can fully remain centralized. I don't think everything has to be decentralized. I think it would not be very efficient to decentralize everything, but there is definitely like a good point to decentralize some parts, like for example, like our identity management or how our data is being handled, into the Web3 space. And I think this is starting to emerge right now, looking at like decentralized identity solutions or data ownership solutions that are kind of more broadening the scope of what Web3 is actually about.
That's awesome. So I know both of you are involved with financing. Do you see especially I guess coming off of this, oh my gosh, hot take, FTX, coming off of this FTX solution, what do you think now moving forward is a way that decentralized finance could maybe help this current situation that we're in?
Gosh, that's the hot topic for right now, and I don't think anybody has a good answer. I think though, coming out of FTX and Celsius earlier this year, and today there was just the BlockFi announcement. I mean, I don't know if you heard it. Just hit the press, right? I think. Closer. Okay, sorry. Got it. I think it's actually, for me, it might not be the most popular opinion, but it's really doubling down on those types of projects. And the reason I believe that is because I think the customers, and we're probably not the average customer in this space here. The average customer is going to see this as an opportunity to demand kind of maybe bigger companies, more regulation, and quite frankly, simpler products as well that the current players, both in the CeFi or more decentralized players, have not been able to provide. I'm personally doubling down. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, look, I'll come at it, I think, to your point earlier, from a different angle. I'm a lawyer training plus a hacker, so I think coming at it from a completely kind of a schizophrenic approach, and everything that we kind of see with FTX. Sure, there is a lot of us that have came in early in 2010. I came into it because I realized that we need a world that is more decentralized, right? I wanted more financial freedom for a lot of people. We were building mobile applications since 2005 in Africa and Latin America. That's where your mobile payments, Zelle and et cetera, come from originally, right? Is from places like that. But I think for us, when I got into it because of decentralization. I didn't get into it because of centralization. And so I think we have seen this institutional capital come in that has just been really, a lot of people at crypto have been attracted to because of, I think, simply greed and an ability to have a faster way. And yes, to your point, I think to your point earlier, not everything can be decentralized right now because we don't have those tools. Just like in 1994, there was a paper for a digital dollar, but we simply didn't have part of the code in order to create what we have today, right? It's just an evolution of technology. So I think the world we're going into is quite schizophrenic, what I've been calling schizophrenic, that there will be places where it will be absolute decentralization and places where centralization works. We have the technology for both. I think it's more willingness of the human beings to create that better world, that's where we're going to see a particular kind of alignment in one way or the other. So we're paying attention to all those, and definitely our focus has been real world assets on chain going forward and DeFi too. And just one last point, I feel very passionate about what's going on currently in China, and that people are using the NFTs actually for a self-expression and freedom of speech. That is pretty fucking powerful when you think about it, right? So that in itself like gives me chills. At the same time, I understand that governments like that are quite powerful with the combination of IoT, AI, and blockchain can stomp the population in a second, right? So we are really walking into a really interesting time and place where I think next 6 months we'll start to see blatant regulation. And then in some places you will start to see a lot of kind of underground movement for decentralization as well.
Awesome. That makes me think of a lot of interesting parts. And Lou, I'm going to ask this question to you. What do you think about the people that say actually move toward Web3 and crypto is the surveillance state? Like a little bit of what Maya just mentioned, it's like, what about governments that are going to be able to track now everything, what you're doing? In some ways, like fiat itself is, you can move anonymously through the world with cash in your hand. But with crypto,
yeah, but
you can't.
How much cash can you really move around? Turns out not a whole lot. Yeah, it's easy to take $20 or $100, but try moving $1 million in cash. That's not very easy. So we live in a massive, obviously today, surveillance state over everything that we do. Every one of your credit card transactions. The government, tracks all of that. Obviously tracks every financial transaction over $600. That's what they say they're doing. Pretty sure they're doing them all, right? And that's what they do. And in my view, I think part of the problem about is there surveillance of crypto? Obviously there is. It's a different kind, but also there's no panacea, right? Everything's a trade-off. And I think the lucky thing for us is the bar of what we're competing against is so low.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the fear, right? When you think about cash and fiat, to a certain degree, you have some anonymity. And so along with the freedom that comes from crypto, to be able to move money so quickly and coordinate with people all around the world, you also have a little bit of this extra part where if everybody can see it, then everybody can track it. So it's interesting when people think about crypto and scams, when really we're the most tracked amongst us. You can see everything everybody is doing. Anyway, next question I have is about our UI and UX experience that we have in crypto right now. We can all admit it's not so perfect. What do you think, and this is open to any of you, would be something that we can do in crypto that could be a way for onboarding more people from Web2, knowing that not all parts of Web2 need to come to crypto, but the places we do want to woo people, maybe financial or maybe identity, like you mentioned, what would be something that we could do? Has anyone thought about that?
I mean, we've looked at that a lot because of my payments background in Africa and Latin America. That's where I think the crypto, for me, has come full circle, because we've started in traditional payments, and then when crypto started, you're seeing it now. We just don't hear it here in the West because we have Visa and MasterCard and it's easy, right, and Venmo. But when I work with, I mean, we have funded companies like Mina and Reserve and, you know, bunch of companies in the space who are trying to grow in emerging markets. And what's really amazing to see is the real use cases. So if you look at Reserve, which is RSR, I don't know if any of you have looked at it, I encourage you to do. It's been around for a while. You know it because we've known each other for a while. But they actually were doing literally God's work in Venezuela. I mean, every time that these currencies in these markets fluctuate, right, they keep the stability of the local currency for mom and pop shops. I mean, you're waking up one day in Argentina is 90% of inflation right now. By the end of the year, they're expecting 100%. I mean, that's insane. Imagine waking up and going to pick up food for your family and eggs are, let's say, I don't know, $2, and you come in and they're like $2,000, and you're like, you know, so we are doing that across Mexico. We're partnering them with remittance companies. So I think to answer your question, a lot of things that crypto companies could do, and a lot of my portfolio companies that I work with, I encourage them to really think of a real use case. And I am tired of seeing crypto folks coming in and finding a solution for their own little, you know, problem, where in reality, there are a lot of problems we can solve with this tech, but it's hard work. It's actually hard work to go probe a country, to try to work with the local banks, local merchants, and incorporate all that. There are companies who are certainly doing it. And that's where I'm passionate about, which is that Web 2.5 that we have been focused on. And honestly, that's actually doing the impact, but you're also making money along the way. So because Electra, for example, in Mexico is one of the largest remittance platforms, and we are incorporating this stablecoin platform for them so they don't pay these massive fees as they're doing remittances, because still remittances charge a lot of these people a lot of money. So that's one of the ways.
Ooh,
that
that's
is really
awesome. I mean, that's a real way people can improve the quality of their lives, which is really the dream here. Jeffrey, so we had earlier talked about marketplaces in terms of like Web 2 to Web 3 marketplaces, and I know you had some interesting thoughts about that. Could you share them?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting in Web3 is kind of enabling kind of new business models, right, that were not previously possible under Web2. And I think the previous question you asked about, like, how do we bring Web2 people to Web3? I think maybe the correct answer is not exactly bringing them over, but rather create new Web3 products that are inherently different. And an example I think that you might have shared about the financial use cases, especially in the developing world, I think I don't necessarily see it as bringing Web 2 to Web 3, but rather it's almost like they're like going from no web to Web 3 in a lot of markets, or maybe like kind of non-web models to Web 3, right? At least in some of these markets. And I think the interesting kind of outcome here would be to try to find Web 3 native use cases. And regarding the marketplaces, I've been kind of deep diving into what are new types of marketplaces we could potentially build. In Web 2, we've had things like, you know, either Amazon or eBay type of marketplaces, or Airbnb or Uber, you know, two-sided markets. But essentially on those, we are still both sides. We're the customer of Airbnb, whether you're the renter or the landlord. In Web 3, you have cool projects like, let's say, decentralized storage marketplaces, right? Let's say if you're in Filecoin, that's a marketplace where one side of the marketplace is the storage operator, where anyone can do it, and the other side is the user. Anybody can be the user, and this and blockchain solves the coordination problem here. Or when we look at like the Helium network, which I think is had a bit of a market issue in the past, but they announced their new Helium mobile network pretty recently. I think that's a really fascinating use case, right? Where any one of us could become a 5G radio operator. So we could become our own phone company. So I can, or you can buy a 5G radio off the shelf and just start broadcasting it from your house and earn tokens from, well, all of us who are Helium mobile SIM card subscribers. And I think these are kind of models that were not possible in the Web 2 world, or at least very, very, very difficult to pursue, that, you know, that's being enabled now.
I've got to say, I'm actually struck by how different the panel is than what I thought it was going to be, in that, you know, you're talking about Web 2 to Web 3 and kind of as a technology shift, which obviously that's part of it, but the much bigger shift in my view is the ethos shift, right? And the struggle of moving from Web 2 to Web 3 is Web 2 is fundamentally about how much money can I extract from my users, and Web 3 is about how much utility can I give my community. And those are two massively fundamentally different things. And most of the Web 2 people who are trying to move into Web 3 don't understand that ethos. They were just told, hey, become a Web 3 thing, and they go, okay, well, what is that, right? What are, and, so I think that's the biggest struggle that most Web 2 organizations have, is nobody even knows what Web 3 really is.
Can I say something controversial? I don't think Web3 is necessarily about communities. It can be about communities, but for me, Web3 is mostly about infrastructure that is decentralized and permissionless, which means that nobody can control what's happening within these groups. And surely communities form around, which kind of sympathize with that ethos. But I think actually the beauty with it is that you don't necessarily sometimes even need a community for Web3 things to work,
but let's
because they're fully like automated and autonomous.
Well, but
right?
let's start at the beginning. Okay, so you use the word community. What does community even mean to you then? Because my guess is you don't understand. You don't have the same definition, which is fine. Everybody can have their own definition, right? There's no right definition or wrong definition. But what does community mean to you?
I think community means, for me, it's like a group of people that come together to organize together to do something together. And they can do that in form of a DAO, but they can also do it in form of a Facebook group. In form of a DAO, it has a lot of like advantages for them to like pool in together resources, pool in together finances, and to like co-invest into something or like share interests there together. So like I definitely see your point that this is one part of it, but I think it is a lot more than only like sharing interests.
So, and I appreciate that, but I would say I define community, to me, community is an ecosystem where when it works, everyone gets more out of it than they give. And that's really magical when you can make that happen. And what, you find is that most of the people are here for the money, and that's great. God bless. Come here for the money. But what we have to appreciate is the money comes and the money goes. It's a never-ending pendulum. And if your community is all about the money, when the money goes, guess what? As most NFT communities found out, they actually weren't a community, right?
I actually think that's a really good point. If I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, there were only about 15 people at a first Satoshi roundtable when we started it, and nobody came in for the money. Nobody. I mean, a lot of the guys were buying drugs with Bitcoin, right? A lot of the gamers, that's how I got into it, right? Because it was part of hacking networks. Exactly, that's utility. So, but in the beginning, remember, I don't know if all of you are old enough to remember that PayPal stopped a lot of the gamers from using the real money, right, to purchase the games and everything else. And so they went to the dark web, that went to Bitcoin. That's really where it kind of took off. And so to Lou's point, I didn't even know there was an opportunity to make money when I came into this. But earlier what I said is when they were decentralized, to our moderator's point earlier when she said about decentralized organizations, when institutions started coming in, when finance bros started coming in, right? That's where everybody smelled money. And yes, of course, we need to make money. But if you're going to make your community all about that, and you're not going to make it about the utility of a community and a faster growth of community, then it all revolves around the money, which is exactly why we have gotten to where we've gotten today with the domino effect.
So bringing back a little to Jeffrey's point about the marketplace, and this is interesting, is that when I think about community and what he described, which is like the people who are using your product, the people who are building your product, the platform where the marketplace is happening, they can all participate in the gains. So not only now, and this is why I think we win, which is now you can be a user of a product and also a developer on that product, especially if it is an open platform with an API, and you can be a builder. So it's like you have all these different ways to contribute to a project. It's imagining a kind of a project where you buy the token, but you're also getting paid in that token, maybe for some other aspect of it, which I think makes this the winner. You know, like going back to the future of work. That's what I imagine this is, because what crypto ultimately is a coordination tool that is as significant as any other. Imagine what we all agree on. So once we all agree on crypto, we're all going to be able to look at that public database and know what's true. And so just like we do about time, and how time is a coordination tool, now we have crypto. So it's going to allow us as humanity to coordinate at a faster pace than ever before. And that, I think, goes full circle with community, which is like, who is your community? Your users can be your community. Your builders can be your community. We all can be in a community together, and you can be in multiple communities where you want to be. I don't know. I'm bullish on crypto, so.
You know, as much as I think the goal is to create community, right? And the ethos, as Lou mentioned, and I'd like to think that I'm in it for the community as well. And she joined early on in the old days where nobody was at Satoshi Roundtable for the money. They're there to, well, I guess, be in the roundtable and buy drugs, maybe, right?
No, we were there for the code. I mean, it was a Bitcoin core. A lot of those guys were Bitcoin core, and I came in from Africa and Latin America building mobile apps. And I was like, holy shit, when I read the Bitcoin white paper and it said peer-to-peer, right? When you're living in these markets, you only realize how hard it is to transfer money. And you only realize that every time you transfer $200, the other side gets, 110, right? So that's why I came in.
Yeah, drugs were just a perk.
It's great.
But realistically, though, in today's world right now, I mean, as much as we want to build this community, like, let's say if we use a reserve token, most of the value accrual, yes, the users attain value because the users of the token are also the token holders, but the majority of the token holder value goes to the large investors who own most of these tokens, right? And same for users of any of the networks, where realistically, it's not really being a Filecoin holder, the value accrual goes to Filecoin VCs, not too different from Dropbox, share accrual going to those investors.
Well, I have one corollary to my definition of a community, and that's my belief that a community's ability to scale is highly correlated to what I call value delta. And what value delta is a community produces something for community members at a cost of X. Community members get that, and they value it at Y. And the bigger the difference between X and Y, the bigger the community can become. And that's why if you think about communities and you think about the biggest communities in the world, they're the things with the biggest value deltas, and we actually have a collective name for those things. You know what we call those things? Call those things religions. And to some degree, everybody who's trying to build a community is trying to build, you don't have to call it a religion, but they're trying to get people to have faith in a future that doesn't exist, right? They're building something, they're trying to, make the world a better place, hopefully, but they're not there yet.
But I think that's exactly where I see the big difference in like how we all define crypto, because it seems like you define it more as a cult people join, and I define it as infrastructure, which I can use, where we can both use it, even though we disagree on our personal definition of what Web3 actually is, which I think is pretty awesome.
We're just in different cults. You're of the cult of infrastructure,
exactly,
and I'm of the cult of community.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes. That's not very much. I'd love to hear some hot takes. If you have any hot takes about maybe in ways that you think people haven't thought about how they can use Web3. Maybe for the audience here who's maybe thinking about like, where can I grab on? Is there something for me? Like, it's something that maybe inspire them to create as well. So do you have any hot takes about Web2 to Web3? I can start with mine. Well, with Collabland, we build on Web2 chat platforms. We, from the beginning, had no interest in building our own chat platform. Web2 has done chat platforms very well. They've spent millions and millions of dollars. They have huge support teams. They've thought about every single new feature. They've thought about how to moderate. They thought of how to ban, how to do all the things that go into building chat platforms. We are not interested in doing as Collabland. Our need is to bring our Web3 tool to land on a Web2 chat platform and use them. So that's kind of been the way we manage that, which is like we go where they are. Of course, would it be wonderful to have a Web3 native chat platform? Yes, but that's not what we're going to do yet, because we still need all of you to come back on. And so we're going to go to where you are, where you live, where you hang out, and just sprinkle a little bit of that Web3 magic on you. So that's our hot take.
I think I already had enough hot takes, but you guys feel free.
Gosh, I don't know if I have a hot take here, but I actually, I think it's okay to have different reasons for being in this space. So you don't have to be in it to, try to bring uses to the developing world or develop new use cases or build a community. I think it's okay if you just want to be a trader, a JPEG flipper or whatever. I think everybody has a role in the markets. And I know that the builders like to kind of, look down upon people who are just in it for the gains, right? But I think there's nothing wrong with that side of the puzzle either. I mean, the market needs liquidity, and more liquidity leads to more stability, which brings more usability to the actual use cases we're trying to build. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with any reason that you want to get in, or if you're trying to get in to buy stuff on Silk Road, that's also, it's not my time and place to judge either. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
There are different reasons why, everything you said, different reasons why people can get into the space. I think if you're a builder, it's an amazing time to build. I think if you look at the Web2 companies, a lot of them were built during the really difficult times. It's a great time to build. I think also if you're looking at funding projects, don't fund things that just have kind of a blockchain or crypto in it. Maybe there's what are they really trying to solve for, and did they actually have users? I think next 6 months to 12 months, there will be a lot of regulation in the space, and if you're in the US, you're definitely gonna get hit. And I think we're still not out from the biggest fall down, what's gonna happen after FTX. We still have 1 or 2 more players that are about to get hit. So I would watch and learn. Creativity is beautiful. Smart contracts, when we code them, when we do them, they're the most beautiful thing. They can be coded to do a lot of things, but I also think we have to be realistic. So, yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one right there. This isn't the end. This isn't the bottom.
This is not the bottom.
No, not at all.
Lou, do you want to finish us off?
Sure. Again, I'm going to continue on the community theme. In crypto, in my view, Ethereum is the greatest community. They're in the pantheon of communities, and nobody's going to touch Ethereum for a very long time. But the community that I've been to, or that is the strongest community after Ethereum that I've seen is called Cello. And the reason why the community is so strong, because it's really all about making the world a better place. It's about financial inclusion. It's about addressing climate change. It's about the main, they call it regenerative finance. So if you're looking for a community to get involved in, that's an amazing community.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, everybody, we have a minute left. Is there a question in the audience? Cello, C-E-L-O.
NFA, DYOR.
Yeah.
No financial advice, do your own research. NFA,
That's
DYOR,
right.
of course.
Not an endorsement. Lou is a fan. Right. No, not financial advice, and do your own research. Absolutely. Okay, we have room for one question. Is there anyone have a question?
Raise your hand if you have a question.
I'm curious, how many people are here builders? How many investors? How many builders? Oh, that's awesome. How many investors? How many flipping JPEGs? Nothing wrong with that. No, nothing wrong with that. Okay. Okay, and shout out, why are you in the space? Anybody? Yeah, that's powerful, right? Everybody sees that message, and no matter if you're in it for the cash or not.
Take power away from corporations and governments.
Like that is
undoing
this is-
systemic
no-
oppression.
Yeah, no matter what we talk and no matter where you hear panels like about, whatever, reality is a lot of people are attracted for decentralization, period.
Yes,
That's it.
yes.
And then they want to make money off of that, which is great, to your point.
Well-
but people are in it for decentralization because
Also
people
money.
are tired.
Money that doesn't fund war. I mean, there's so many different reasons why people come into this space.
Yeah,
and knowing that a government isn't making a decision for
That's
you.
a tricky one, but okay. That's another panel. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right. We should do another panel. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We're a minute over. This was so fun. Lou and Maya and Jeffrey and Marlene and I'm Anjali. So thank you guys. You're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.